This is Etude number 4, marked Allegretto. That's definitely a lot of fun to play. This one, being in the key of E major, is the home key of the boom system flute. When Theobald Boom put the mechanism on this flute, many of the pieces he wrote were in E major, and it works really, really fast. It's because it's a balanced key where the outer fingers, the D sharp and the G sharp, balance in the midpoints of the scale. For this particular etude, most everything is going to be clear, clean double tonguing. Be very smart on your third octave E's, no pinky on them for the most part. It gets you in trouble if not, otherwise you get some cracks going on. Middle finger F sharps to make it very, very clear. And then use the spaces between the staccatos for your breaths, because you don't want to have to stop and take a breath and break the tempo. So say, for instance, in the very, very beginning, pick up the pinky on the top E, use a middle finger F sharp for that articulation right there. It's a little bit more stable F sharp, a little bit flatter, so it's not quite so wide major second right there, but it also makes it easier to go to the E through to the D sharp. And then you can just grab, if you need to, a quick breath between the E and the B. Very, very easy to grab little breaths like that. So what I would do in my practice is I would practice this all with P-O-O-H articulation, breathing between each one. It's really good for strengthening your orbicularis muscle so that it's nice and strong and it has the flexibility in it. Very, very easy to keep that strong. Again, this is a slow practice, and it's good for reinforcing fingerings, moving the fingers before you articulate, and so forth. But it also ensures that you are able to lock in the pitch and make it very, very clear one to the next. Not the easiest way to practice, but very, very good for finger discipline and to ensure that in the end, when you get to the audition, under the stress of the audition, that you can perform even under sometimes duress. When you get to the last bar in the line, it can be tricky if you actually play the real fingerings right there. I actually don't. I use a trill fingering on the C sharp. So when I come off of that dominant arpeggio, the B dominant 7, so as I play the C sharp, all I have to do is hit both trill keys. It varies from flute to flute. On my Yamaha, it works very easily by simply pushing both trill keys down. Some flutes, you don't need to have the first one in addition, and you can just suffice with the second. Most of the time, the first trill key is not going to be wide enough, and you're going to get a minor second right there. So either it's going to be both trill keys or the second trill key. And a word about trill key usage. On a flute, the mechanism is designed so that the fingers move in a concurrent motion. So when you use the lever A sharp, which is actually called the A sharp trill key, when you go to the first trill key, as we call it, it's actually operated with this finger. Think about top B flat. When you play top B flat, it's operated with this finger, right? When you play top B natural, the third finger operates it. So when you play these trill key usage, don't reach over the other direction, because it actually is going to cause you finger recovery delays. And in a lot of our technique as a flute player, we're trying to get the fingers in place as fast as we can to the next finger configuration. So if you have a randomized motion in your right hand, it's not going to allow you to have as facile or simple a motion in your fingers. So anyway, back to this, as I play the dominant. And again, you could practice at a nice slow tempo while it's there. It's not the best sound, but again, put a little vibrato on top of there and no one will ever be notice it. It just sounds like it's a very easy thing for you to play. The dominant seventh that you play that's in the third bar of the second system, you can, as I mentioned before, anchor through. Probably not in the first octave that you play, the top one, but you can keep it down on that octave right there. Again, it keeps the flute from wiggling on you, which makes it easier to recover into the next articulations. When really nothing that you have to do finger-wise until we get into the second bar of the third system. When you play from the A octave, that's fairly easy, but playing the E octave can be a little cantankerous. Obviously, pick up your pinky, but that E wants to crack. Or it wants to play a B harmonic or the E harmonic itself. So easiest way to do is use what we call the resonance finger. You hit both the C sharp and the D sharp key at the same time. And you can do it on the E above the staff or the E in the staff. And it's a really simple way to recover off of that. So this fingering, as we call it in the UA studio, is going to be the regular E in the staff fingering, but you, instead of putting just the D sharp key, you split both the D sharp and the C sharp keys in the foot joint. In order to make the low E natural come out, all you have to do is, again, stand up. That's going to make it much clearer for you when you play one to the next. And I would, of course, always keep vibrato going. The very last line gives you the last burst of energy, and I strongly recommend a consistent vibrato throughout the melismatic writing in the very first bar. If I don't play vibrato, then I get this. It makes the double tonguings later, afterward, kind of short and brusque, and they don't have direction. And of course, that line, it's hard to play any kind of crescendo in there. You get kind of a shrill sound, but if I play vibrato and just let my vibrato get wider, you get this nice finish of vibrato. And anyone who's listening to auditions is listening for those tiny little nuances that make it very tasty playing, and that's going to be important. So I would practice that so that the vibrato happens while you're playing. Because vibrato and double tonguing are inextricably linked. They're both pressure-dependent techniques. They depend on how strong your embouchure is. Stronger the embouchure, easier it is to play both techniques. So in so doing, it's going to help reinforce not only good flute playing, but have a great musical impact as a result. Nothing really at the end. You could play double tonguing tu ku if you like, or it could just simply be simple forward articulations as you play. But at the very, very end, when you play the last bit, I would start with a pre-anchored F sharp, which will be easier when you play, because the D sharp is the finger, it's the grab, it's the break in essence in our flute as we cross over in that third octave right there. So what's important is just simply anchor right through that and it'll be easier. And I strongly recommend, again, even though it's got a staccato right there, I'd recommend having a little bit of vibrato. Without it, you get, and it sounds flattening at the end. So you want to leave the audience and the judges with this really great, wow, that was so easy to play. And so that they enjoy the piece. You're always trying to sell the piece that you're playing. Doesn't matter if it's Bach, Beethoven, or Mr. Akey here. You want to have the pieces and that display the best of the emotion that they're trying to get across. Good luck.